All rise. Welcome to the sports court. I'm Gregory Beatty alongside Eddie Cox on this Tuesday evening, this beautiful Tuesday evening. Nice breeze out there, Eddie. A little breeze, but it's still humid. The sun is not baking like you know it will be, here coming up soon and for the remainder of the spring and summer. But nice breeze out there today. Still kind of humid, but gotta love it. Glad to be here. Hey, you know what's coming up. You know what's coming up. And hola to everybody listening out there. Grade A Media, House of Legends Entertainment is in the building. But you know what's coming up. You know what's coming up this Thursday, my friend. The NFL draft is here. We're definitely going to break that down, of course. Of course, the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs are near and dear. And it's time for LeBron to come back. It's time for the Lakers to get serious now. And I know they've been beset by injuries, but Anthony Davis is back now. He's going to work himself into shape. Seems like that leg is just fine. I was concerned, Eddie, when he first did it. We harken back to Kevin Durant. I was hoping it wasn't a Kevin Durant type situation, but I'm glad they let him heal up. From all accounts right now, the leg seems to be healed. Just has to knock off some of the rust, get back into game shape. I don't care what kind of basketball he's been playing or how he's been conditioning himself. You have to get in game shape, and that means you have to play the game of basketball in a real live game and not in practice, but a real live game. And actually, so the Lakers, they're a team that's going to have to jockey for a position now. It's not like it used to be, Eddie, to where teams at this point in the season, if you're pretty much out of the playoff picture, you pretty much tank it in and you get ready for the lottery. I mean, teams that's not in the top 10 right now are probably going to do that. And then, like, if you're in the, a certain position, fifth, sixth, or seventh, or something like that, then you can actually, sometimes you may want to pace yourself and make sure you have people healthy and you just go into the playoffs healthy because you believe that you can compete with anyone once the playoffs start. A la the Lakers, of course, they're in the sixth position right now, but of course that's due to LeBron James and Anthony Davis and them being out. But I'm sure they feel like they just want to get in healthy now, get some of that continuity, some of that continuity, and then go from there. The same thing with the Nets, of course, the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are in a position to where they really have to gel as a team now. Those three superstars, KD is back. And when I say KD is back, Eddie, KD is back. You see how efficient he is. So the NBA is hey, the playoffs are right around the corner, my friend.
Right around the corner in full swing. I can touch on the Lakers real quick for just a minute. It's hard to imagine them not getting 100% healthy and then just looking like the same Lakers that they were last season in the playoffs, where everybody elevated their game to another level and propelled them to an NBA championship. And I have all the faith in the world in LeBron James and Anthony Davis as long as they're healthy. LeBron, he's the modern day Iron Man, the Cal Ripken of basketball. You can call him whatever you want to call him. The guy's phenomenal, and he's usually always healthy. And I just think they're being really cautious with the guy, but he's going to be ready to go for the playoffs, no doubt. Anthony Davis, he's the question mark because it's a variable with him. Anything can happen at any time with this guy, and you can.
That's his history in New Orleans, of course.
Absolutely, you can ill afford to lose him. It's not that it takes you out of it because we all know the wonder of LeBron James. He can win you any NBA playoff series, even an NBA Finals series, all on his own if he's really feeling himself. But you'd rather not have him shoulder that kind of load, not this late in his career. Anthony Davis needs to be healthy, and he has to find a way to stay on the court for LA. And if he does, even with everything we've seen from Utah, everything we've seen from Phoenix and Denver, the likes of the others, I still think LA, the Lakers, they're the clear-cut favorite if Anthony Davis is healthy and on the floor.
You know what? I agree with that. Now, I'm sure the Brooklyn Nets would have something to say about the term clear cut. I'm sure they would have something to say about that because they feel like if they have all their three guys healthy, be it Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and of course James Harden, you're talking about maybe three of the top 10 players in the game and definitely maybe two of the top 10. I mean, the way Kyrie is playing, you have to put Kyrie somewhere up there. But you're talking about three tremendous talents, two former MVPs in James Harden and in Kevin Durant. And KD, again, before he got hurt, he was rivaling LeBron for the best player in the game, in my opinion. Now, of course, LeBron is, in my opinion, the second greatest player of all time. You know, between him and Kareem, but LeBron is definitely up there. Of course, my favorite player ever is Kobe. But as far as it pertains to the Lakers, they have to really get LeBron back ASAP, in my opinion, right now. And they really have to gel as a team and get that chemistry and that continuity, because even though he played with Anthony Davis last year, you listen to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. This is Eddie Cox to my left right here. Even though that's the case, now he's playing with a crop of new players. You have guys like Montrezl Harrell. You have guys like the rookie that came in, the guy that's playing. But you have Montrezl Harrell. You just have a bunch of new faces on that roster right now. And who is the little point guard? Dennis Schroeder. You have Schroeder now. You have Montrezl Harrell now. You have some other guys on that team that wasn't there last season, and the Lakers won a championship last season. So you have some guys that's going to have to really get acclimated to playing with LeBron James in these pressure situations. But we all know LeBron.
Well, Greg,
LeBron makes everybody better.
Yeah, you remember you touched on last week that Andre Drummond has to be. I
Drummond.
felt like that's the guy you're looking for. Sometimes I see you mulling over things and the name's just evading you. I know.
Right.
I feel like it's Andre Drummond is the
that's
guy
who it is.
That
that's
really
who it
needs to gel with this team and really needs to hit the ground running and get some time with LeBron, especially if Anthony Davis runs into any kind of health hiccups in the playoffs. It's really going to fall on Andre Drummond.
I said it last week, right?
To pick up the extra load that LeBron can't carry.
Yeah, hey, Andre Drummond, and eventually would have came back to me because I knew I was missing somebody in that scenario. Andre Drummond, who I think is actually the X factor. I mean, I really think he's the X factor when he's at the top of his game and I'm basing it against a team like the Brooklyn Nets. If both of those teams, of course, you have to deal with Philly in the East and some other teams, the Celtics if they're on. Right. But of course, we all know the Brooklyn Nets are the team to beat. Now, they lost to Marcus Aldridge. Blake Griffin has been playing well, and he's a guy that can give them some bulk down there on that front line. He's a former number one pick. He's not the Blake Griffin of early on, but he's still a guy with some girth down there that can give you some ruggedness and a nice, smart player. So they need somebody down low to bang like that because, again, you don't have LaMarcus Aldridge. And I think Andre Drummond is actually the X factor because of his dominating presence, his ability to dominate that paint, protect the rim. I'm talking about just eat up rebounds like they're going out of style. I mean, what I like about Andre Drummond is a guy who actually loves to rebound. And that's the thing you want out of a rebounder and your big man. You want that guy to want every rebound in the book. He's a guy that likes to control that paint, and he likes to grab every rebound. And he can easily get you 20 to 25 rebounds a game. And I just think when they play somebody like the Nets, if they play somebody like the Nets, I just think Andre Drummond, with his ability to put the ball in the basket when need be as well, but his defensive presence and his rebounding, I think that's just going to offset the physicality. Then if you add Anthony Davis with that, obviously, and Montrezl Harrell and LeBron James, then you have Kuzma. I just think at the end of the day, if I had to pick right now, as much firepower as the Nets have and as lethal as they can be on offense, I don't know if they'll have the physicality to match up with a team to match up with the Lakers, especially a Lakers team that have the second best player of all time, who's still the best player in the game right now when he's healthy, and maybe a top 5 player in Anthony Davis. So, I mean, if both those guys are healthy with that supporting cast, with Dennis Schroeder and all these guys I'm talking about they have on the perimeter that can play, I mean, I just have to give it to the Lakers right now if I had to pick right now. Of course, the Clippers are playing very well right now as well with Paul George. Paul George is playing at a high clip. Kawhi Leonard, you know what Kawhi Leonard can give you. But I still have to see it in the playoffs. I love the fact they have Rajon Rondo in the mix now. That's what they need, somebody at that point guard position that can initiate the offense and don't put all the onus on Kawhi and Paul George. But Paul George and Kawhi, now that Rondo is there, Now, you know Kawhi Howard has a couple championships. Make no mistake about that. Paul George, he's going to have to be consistent in the playoffs. And the Clippers can make some noise. I mean, the Clippers can make some noise with the talent on their team. Now, kudos to DeMarcus Cousins. They just signed him for the remainder of the season. I'm happy for Boogie Cousins. Boogie can still play. He's a big man that can still give you something again. In the playoffs, you're going to need some physicality down low, and Boogie is a guy that can give you that in the playoffs. He can still read the court, make the necessary passes. He can still stretch the defense and shoot the three. He can still post up. Now, granted, he's come back from a couple of major injuries, but when I watch Boogie, I admire the guy more and more than ever before. Of course, Boogie Cousins is going to give you his attitude every now and then, but sometimes that works out for the better. Sometimes it galvanizes his team, and he shows his teammates that he has their back. Now, in the playoffs, he has to realize he can't do it to the detriment of his team, where he's going to be suspended for a game or Tech is going to be in a crucial point of the game. So he has to be very, 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 very aware of when he's letting his emotions fly like that. But if Boogie Cousins can keep his emotions under check, I think that's a very savvy move by the Clippers, a veteran guy. I admire the way he's come back from injury. His body looks good. It looks like he's working out real good, and he's doing what he's supposed to do off the court to get back on the floor. I mean, I like the way Boogie has come back from two major injuries, an ACL and an Achilles. And you have to give Boogie Cousins credit for that. I mean, the guy has worked his tail off, and I think he deserves the opportunity. I was disappointed the Rockets let him go, but I think he deserves an opportunity in this game, and I'm glad he's with a contender, and he'll be able to help that team, I think.
Well, I think with Boogie, clearly with him, you seem to get a more effective basketball player, a more effective teammate whenever you give him a defined role and you let him know what is his place on the team, whether it be a leader that's not going to get a lot of minutes, but is going to be somebody who's going to be involved with the development of the youth on that team. Okay, be upfront with him about that. If he's going to be a guy that's going to be your backup center and he's going to get 8 to 12 to 14 minutes a night, then I think you need to be upfront with him about that. But as long as he knows what his role is, then he can go all out in it. And I think we saw that when he was here in Houston, and that's what kind of made his name whenever we thought, he might be done. Now he's going to keep getting another chance to get out there, keep getting another opportunity to make it work with these contending teams, because it's a low risk that could possibly be a high reward move for one of these clubs if he does put it all together for one magical playoff run, which I think he's certainly capable of doing. You have to give him a defined role and make sure he knows what it is. That way there's no miscommunication, and there's no hard feelings that develop, because clearly when that happens in Boogie's game, he's not able to translate positivity to the court when he's got negativity in the locker room.
I agree.
Elsewhere.
You know what? I totally agree, but I think at this point in Boogie's career, now that was definitely the case back early in Boogie's career, when he knew he was probably a top 10, top 15 player when he was playing at his best, at least a top 20 for sure. But I would go out and say top 15 when he was playing at his best. And I think at this point in his career, with the injuries that have been dealt to him, I think Boogie understands where his place is right now on any team that he goes to. He knows he's not going to be the main guy. He knows he's pretty much going to be relegated to a role player. But at the same time, Boogie is confident in his abilities, and he realizes as long as he has the minutes and the opportunity to really be an asset to the team, I think he'll be okay with that. So that's obviously going to be coming off the bench, I would think, and I'm pretty sure, I would like to think at this point in Boogie's career, especially playing with a team like the Clippers and coming back from the injuries that he's come back from at this point in his career, I think Boogie is just happy to have a job. And I agree, you want him on his best behavior and being in his best mindset to really give you that positivity on and off the floor. But when Boogie's on the court, Boogie's going to play hard. And again, he believes in his talent, so he still believes that he's one of the top players in the game. So that's one thing about him. But I think he's also a realist in realizing that he's not going to get treated like one of the top players in the game right now, and he's going to have to earn his stripes. And I think as long as he feels that he's getting the ample opportunity to contribute, I think Boogie will be just fine, whether that's coming off the bench or even playing 20 to 25 minutes. But and then he's happy to be getting the paycheck again too. Let's just keep it 100.
Hey,
So
you make a great point there, my friend.
so we'll see. But of course, there's other teams, and I know we talk about the Lakers and the Nets a lot. I mean, right now we're just forecasting pretty much to what we think the finals may be, and kind of breaking down those teams. Again, the Lakers, they have to get LeBron back so he can get going with Andre Drummond and of course a big center that that LeBron has never had, really a big dominant center like that, who can also give you what he can give you on the offensive side of the ball. He can give you 25 points and he can give you 25 rebounds and 4 or 5 blocks. So I'm sure LeBron is geared to get back and get to work with him.
They also have
then you
Marc
have Kuzma,
Gasol,
you have Marc Gasol,
yeah,
you
he's
have
tucked away on that
Caldwell Pope
roster.
shooting the 3. Yeah, I mean, so
See
hey,
what
I'm
he can
telling
muster
you.
up in the playoffs.
Right. And of course Anthony Davis and Montrezl Harrell, and the list goes on and on. But hey, I think the Lakers' depth, if they're healthy, I just think their physicality is cold. I hate to go against Durant, man. I mean, and Harden can go too, of course, and Kyrie can go. But again, they're gonna have to get that chemistry, and we're gonna have to see who wants the ball, within the well, that's gonna be KD. I'm sure they understand all that. But those other two guys have an ego as well, and they feel that the ball should be in their hand. You look at Kyrie Irving, the big shot he hit against Golden State to help secure LeBron's first championship his championship with Cleveland, that is. And of course, Harden is going for his right now. I think Harden will probably be quicker to defer to Durant and be the guy that's that playmaker and get his if he can. I think Harden would be. He don't want that on him right now. That's one of the reasons probably why he went there. I got you.
Without a
but I
doubt,
think Kyrie is going to be the issue. Kyrie is going to be the issue, but I don't even think it's going to be an issue. I think they know, hey, everything stops with KD. That's the guy on that team when in crunch time, get the damn ball to KD, period. You're talking about a 7-footer. I mean, the guy looks like he's a man playing with boys on the court when he comes out there. KD looks like one of those guys. I was watching the other day. He looks like one of those guys, man. You're playing at the playground, and it's just a guy that's taller and better than everybody that you can just not get off the court because his team is going to always win. Whatever you do, if you can get on that team, you can run all day. And KD looks like that type of guy when he's out there on the floor, man. It's like, man, hey, that dude there is special. But so I hate to bet against KD, but again, if both of these teams were healthy with their full complement of players, role players include, hey, I love Joe Harris for the Nets. I mean, they have guys that can light it up. But I think as potent as their offense is, the physicality, and when the Lakers turned up a notch on defense in the playoffs with that physicality, to go along with the talent that they can bring on the offensive side of the ball, I think that's going to offset that firepower for the Nets, at least in a series. Now, don't get me wrong, the Nets are definitely going to be competitive and this and that. So, I mean, again, you have other teams, Utah and all these teams. And we'll talk more about them, obviously, when the playoffs near, and teams in the East, Philly and Embiid and of course, Giannis and Milwaukee, and see if they can get over that hump and win that championship.
I read a Yahoo article that talked about these big bets that came in on the Atlanta Hawks out of nowhere, $10,000 bets that combined together, if they pay off, will win over $1 million. I think it's $1.5 million or a $2 million payout. And it moved the entire NBA Finals odds whenever these bets were placed. Atlanta, a team with some young promise, Trae Young, Clint Capella, some guys who can go.
Yes.
What do you think their chances are, Greg? Not to put you on the spot here. What do you think their chances
are? That's what you're supposed to do.
Of upsetting one of these teams like a Milwaukee or one of these teams that we consider elite in the East and expect to be battling it out for that final spot to take on whoever comes out of the West?
Atlanta?
No, I'm saying which one of those teams do you think they have a chance to go up and beat one of those teams, like a Milwaukee?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Because
that's
these
why
guys do
to
the tune of $10,000 a pop. So.
Right. Well, right now,
and they've been playing very good lately.
Yes, they have. If they have their full complement of players,
their depth
what about Hunter?
Their depth is nice too.
What about Hunter? Then the guy from Duke that was playing with Zion a couple years ago. I mean, they have the talent. I still think they're a year away now with Trae Young. But yes, they can upset one of those teams if they're clicking on all cylinders because of the exploits of Trae Young, who can go for probably about 40 a game in that series, and he can dish out the 8 to 10 assists. Then you have Capella who's probably still trying to make up from that dunk that Bridges did on him. So he's going to be playing that. He's playing good. I mean, everybody gets dunked on. So, but he's a guy. But that was probably the best dunk I've ever seen.
I think they've done
He's
a good
guy
job
that can protect the rim,
using him to
rebound.
his strengths.
Yes, protect the rim,
I mean,
rebound.
don't ask too much from him. He can really be dominant. He can swing a game sometimes when it comes to blocks and rebounds. I've seen him get 4 blocks in a row on 4 possessions. You're like, that is unbelievable.
Yes.
He's
can have
that
some dominant
athletic
flashes.
of a guy.
Right, and he's not going to be that. He's a rim runner, and he's a rim protector.
Definitely.
He's not going to be that guy because we waited on him in Houston to actually develop. I kept saying he needs to go work with Akeem in the offseason. He needs to go work with Akeem in the offseason. And I don't know if he did or not, but at this point in his career, and, I say that. If he heard me say this, he would probably feel otherwise. But at this point in his career, he's probably not going to be that offensive juggernaut, where you can just dump the ball down low with his back to the basket and he can just go get you 20 to 25 points a game. Then he can face up and take people off the dribble. I don't think that's his game. Now, if he continues to work on his game, maybe he can develop some of that. If you look at guys like Dwight Howard and those guys, Dwight Howard never really developed that type of offensive game. Even at the height of his career, he was just an athletic guy who can dunk and maybe get you a jump hook every now and then. But
his jump hooks aren't that pretty. But look, here's the thing. In Houston, it wasn't like he was all that bad. I mean, he was actually pretty damn good. Yeah. And if you look at the years that Houston was competing with Golden State in the West, and they were clearly the 2 best teams in the West, it was going to come down to them. That team and the way it was built, or that style of offense, using Clint Capella as a rim runner, as a guy who's going to get above the rim, as a guy to take lobs from a tremendously gifted ball handler like you have in Atlanta. You use him like that. That's an offense that minus or against anybody else except one of the greatest teams of all time, which is the Warriors, that would have been good enough to get it done. So I don't think he really it would be nice if he could add to it. I just don't think that they're going to ask him to do that. They're going to do what he's good at and hope that some of their athletic and some of their scorers, their athletic guys and their scorers can really get the defenders' eyes off of him.
Stay consistent.
Off of him and get. I mean, DeAndre Hunter has to definitely.
DeAndre Hunter has to stay healthy.
Has to definitely stay healthy. He's currently out right now.
That's what I'm saying.
But they're still playing very, very well. I mean, since the All-Star break, I think they're 20-7, if I'm not mistaken.
Is McMillan their coach? Nate McMillan? No. He's not?
No, I don't think so.
I know they fought. Wait, Atlanta?
McMillan, he got that college job.
Nate McMillan?
Just recently. Yeah, I thought so.
Look that up, baby, please.
Yeah.
Just look up who's the coach for Atlanta Hawks. I want to see. Because whoever he is doing a wonderful job right now. Has been all year. And again, Trae Young reminds me of Steph. And
okay, it is McMillan.
Okay. Yeah, Nate McMillan is doing a wonderful job. He's come in and put his imprint on that franchise, on their squad, and he's a defensive guy. When Nate McMillan was with the Seattle Supersonics, back when they used to play the Rock, I'm telling you, Seattle was another team that their defense were in your clothes. Period. I'm talking about with Gary Payton, Nate McMillan, Sean Kemp, all those guys, Deadly Shrimp, George Karl, coach team. When the Rockets won those championships, like in 93, well, when they won in 94, 95, the Sonics were even tough then. But like in 93, hey man, the Sonics were a team I used to hate to see the Rockets play because their defensive tenacity was just crazy. I'm talking about they had a squad. That's a team that probably should have won the championship. But of course, when you have to go through Jordan, but we'll see. We'll see, man. I mean, again, the playoffs are going to be fun. I can see Atlanta with Nate McMillan leading them. I can see Atlanta if they can get everyone healthy.
I just thought it was an interesting article.
I mean, it is.
I mean, and these
I
bettors,
still think they're a year away. But they can cause some problems in the first round.
These bettors who do this kind of stuff, I mean, who knows what kind of advanced metrics they're looking at. I guarantee you these guys just aren't going with their guts. The guys who make money never just go with their guts. I mean, there's a method to everything that they do, and they have a system that they use. And this system tells them that
sometimes
that Atlanta
you have to go with your gut.
Is playing. No, there's certainly part of it. Don't get me wrong.
Well,
but there's a tried and true process.
You got
to
put in the
guys
work.
who are legitimate gamblers for a living that
Yes.
they use. There's a reason why they're making money while your average Joe is out there paying the house.
Well, like I was saying before, you got to look at everything. What's the weather? Who's injured? I mean,
Yeah,
so yeah.
and when
I
it's
mean,
like
I got you.
when you're making these
course.
future bets, though, like those guys who I forget the guy's name right now, but who made the bets on Tom Brady a year in advance, thinking that he was going to go to Tampa Bay. They put all this money on Tampa Bay and ended up having a well of a day when they not only
See
won
how
the
I threw Vegas
NFC,
in that?
but they won the Super Bowl as well. And this is what this bettor's trying to do by predicting the future. And they just see a lot of good things that Atlanta's doing, even whenever their best players are not on the floor.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I threw some Vegas in that when you said bet, but of course, I do. Obviously, you have to pay attention to what's going on and really analyze the situation. But a lot of times, you just know, you just had a gut feeling about someone, and that's why a lot of these players, a lot of times, I think. A lot of these pundits, they overanalyze these guys. I mean, just turn on the film and can they play, yes or no? I mean, all this 40 time this, yeah, of course you want speed, as much speed as possible. But sometimes go with your gut, just go with what the film says, and you can see that certain guys are just going to have that it factor. That's just gonna
this
get
was
you
a
there.
smooth transition. If you're not following along, you wouldn't know what he's talking about. You're listening to the Sports Court
Yes,
live
sir.
on YouTube, live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Go search the Sports Court with Greg Beatty and Eddie Cox. You'll find us there. Hit that subscribe button. I'm telling you, when we get to 1,000, I'm going to give away some autographed NFL memorabilia right here on this show on a Tuesday.
We're gonna get there. You know, people are gonna play hardball
But if you
for a while.
if you were paying real close
Just to be
attention,
doing it.
or if you didn't always watch Greg, you wouldn't know he just did one of them smooth, quick transitions that
Hey,
he
little
loves
segue.
to do,
Little
real
segue.
quick. And he's talking about the NFL draft,
Yes,
which is coming up,
Yes,
starting
sir.
on Thursday.
Hey, this guy knows me. He's been with me for 2 years right here, and he knew where I was going when I was talking about gut and all this and that and talent and just turn on the film. There it is. So as far as the NBA playoffs, and we'll see, there's going to be some surprises in there, and it's going to be some competitive, some very competitive series. And I think the parity is just very good right now in the NBA, in the West and the East. But we all know what this Thursday brings about, and that is the NFL draft. And Eddie Cox, it is here, man. So, of course, you got Jacksonville going first.
We'll start right at the top. Okay, let's start right at the top, and don't act like you don't want to start there because we know
you know I do with Urban Meyer
and his ties to to the Ohio State University.
Yes.
Shout out to anybody tuning in from Columbus. Urban
Buckeye
Meyer,
Nation, what's up?
when asked about the number one pick, this is what I'm hearing, that there's 3 possible QBs that they've narrowed it down to: Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Ohio State alum Justin Fields, which doesn't surprise me at all that there isn't some intrigue there when you look at how Fields performed. And even if you just look at everything in a vacuum against Clemson, you see him having that day while Trevor Lawrence can't quite get off the ground.
Yeah.
And, man, the toughness Fields show, I don't know. Is there any chance at all that Urban Meyer shocks everybody and takes Justin Fields? Because I don't think Zach Wilson has a chance against those two. But is there really –
We're talking about Jacksonville, right?
We're talking about Jacksonville. Is there an off-the-wall chance that Herb has it in his mind that, hey, maybe Justin Fields is the best quarterback for me?
Watch this.
That's available in the draft at number 1.
Watch this. Hell no. They're taking – Trevor Lawrence. I don't care what they say in the media. I mean, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. Trevor Lawrence is going number 1. Like I said before, that's probably the most consensus number 1 pick maybe since Andrew Luck. I would say it is. And then other guys has been like that, like I've said before, John Elway. And so Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number 1 pick. I think Urban Meyer knows that. I think what Urban Meyer is doing, he's showing his allegiance to Ohio State by including Zach Wilson and the aforementioned Justin Fields, an Ohio State quarterback. I think he's showing his allegiance and his respect to Ohio State by saying that, yeah, Justin Fields is definitely in consideration. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that we're going to take Trevor Lawrence. And, yes, we want to And not saying that he didn't vet the situation or it didn't cross his mind to where
he
it was
definitely
something that
did.
crossed
They
right. Where it was
went
something
in
that
depth
crossed his
on all
mind
these guys.
as far as like, especially if you look at Zach Wilson's tape, and then if you start thinking about his upside, and if he can really turn into a Patrick Mahomes, like a lot of people are saying, of course he knows what Justin Fields brings to the table. You can almost say that he could probably be the number one pick. I mean, now you can't almost say, you can say that he can be the number one pick. So that's a legitimate question on your part, but I just think when it comes to Trevor Lawrence this season, that's a no-brainer.
Well,
and I think Urban Meyer knows it's a no-brainer. I just think he's just doing his due diligence by not tipping his hat and saying that it's automatic and showing the other draft prospects respect. As far as
this was a candid interview that Urban Meyer gave to Adam Schefter on his podcast.
He's an honest person, but
so I'm not saying. Of course, he's going to be coy.
Did he consider it?
I don't expect him to be like Charlie Castley. We're drafting Mario Williams, and that's it. The contract is signed. Everybody already knows. There's no surprise.
Right.
That's definitely not.
That's
happening.
not where you come from.
That's not what they're going to do. And Urban Meyer would be, I think it would be poor practice for him to just immediately come to the NFL and just say, okay, just because this is the consensus number one guy, we're not even going to really check or vet these other guys. We're going to just narrow in on him. I think he had to go and convince himself that this is the guy that we're going to take and this is the best prospect out there, because I'm not going to lie, Justin Fields just as a whole, man, I think about this guy, and the more you watch his tape, it's just like, man, there's a whole lot you can work with there at the NFL level, and the durability, I think, is not going to be a problem with this kid,
right?
Because I think he beefs up a little bit.
Yeah, okay, well, let's get there in a second.
But just Herb, to me, he's always got a trick up his sleeve. He's always got a rabbit in the hat somewhere.
But I don't think with this being his first year in the league, I think the reason he actually decided to go to Jacksonville was because he knew he could get Trevor Lawrence.
Would it break the internet if he did it? If he took Justin Fields?
You know what's interesting about your question? I actually thought about that earlier when I saw some of the reports about him maybe considering that, and he's vetted all three quarterbacks, and it's not such a sure thing like everybody thinks it is. I still call BS on that. But I agree that he definitely wants to, again, it's out of respect and out of respect for his job, and just out of respect to other people, the other draft prospects. And I just think he's just saying that. but actually, I do think Urban Meyer took that job because of Trevor Lawrence, and I think Trevor Lawrence is a surefire pick. Now, the thing about with Trevor Lawrence is, if Urban Meyer is going to be his coach, which he is, obviously, I mean, you remember I used to always say that Dabo Swinney is going to run Trevor Lawrence into the ground. He's going to get his shoulder hurt. And he eventually had to have shoulder surgery, but it was his left shoulder. And they're lucky it wasn't his right shoulder, because I said it after every game, every time I came in here, I said they're going to make the guy have shoulder surgery because of the way they're using him. Yes, you want to utilize his talents, but he's a drop-back passer who can utilize his legs. If Urban Meyer gets out there and he tries to utilize him like a JT Barrett or somebody, Trevor Lawrence is not going to last long, bro. So Urban Meyer has to be cognizant of the fact you have – who is that as offensive coordinator? Darrell Bevell?
Yes.
You have Darrell Bevell.
Guy who's worked with Russell Wilson.
You have Schottenheimer as an offensive coach.
So two guys from Seattle's offense.
Yes, but you're going to have to utilize him the right way. Don't get out there and start utilizing him like he's Jamel Holloway or Charles Thompson from Oklahoma back in the day or Tommy Frazier. Let the guy be a drop-back passer, utilize his legs when need be. Now, he's going to be that pick. And Urban can say what he wants about it. Could be somebody else. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number one pick. Number two, Eddie.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be a huge mistake. For the longest time, I've thought Justin Fields would be the perfect fit for them. Would be the perfect fit for anybody, But this guy may end up falling out of the top three for some reason, and I wonder if Darrell Lowe is following along.
That's why I said we're going to get to him.
I wonder if Darrell Lowe is following along, but it seems, of course, the Jets are always good for a curveball. You never know. I mean, Woody could come downstairs at any time and just, hey, this is what we're doing.
Oh, there's definitely going to be some curveballs tomorrow.
So who knows?
I don't think Jacksonville is going to be one of them.
But I think there's an opportunity for one every step of the way, because all we've really heard from Shanahan, or the rumors around Shanahan, is they really like Mac Jones. Apparently, the latest one says that they narrowed it down to 2 guys, and neither of them are named Justin Fields.
What?
That is crazy to me.
Let me go on the record right now, bro. Let me go on the record right now.
They said it was Mac Jones and Trey Lance.
I know. Let me go on the record right now. And it just may be. It may be. You listen to Shanahan. Again, Zach Wilson is going to be the number 2 pick. I mean, a great young prospect from the way it looks. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him play on the next level. And I think he's going to be perfect for the city of New York. And I like the way he carries himself. A tremendous talent from what I see on tape, a tremendous talent, competitive, can make every throw. I mean, the guy is elusive. He does put me in the mind of Patrick Mahomes if you really look at him. I mean, his game, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. Now, of course, the Jets have a lot of draft picks, and they're going to have to put the help around him. They're going to have to put the help around him. Now, that's one team that hasn't made, they haven't done anything to deny that he's going to be the number 1 pick. A la, like, we're talking about Urban Meyer and the 49ers trying to throw everyone curveballs or keep everyone, kind of in suspense. So the Jets pretty much made it a consensus. Yes, Zach Wilson is going to be our number 2 pick.
And if for some reason, or if they decide to throw a curveball and they draft Justin Fields, then I wonder how far Zach Wilson's going to go, because we haven't heard anything from San Francisco about whether or not
Zach Wilson
they like
falls to 3, he's
Wilson.
Going to the Niners. Guarantee you that.
And what happens if Jones goes there, and then where does Wilson
go? He won't go there if Wilson is there. I'm telling you, if Wilson's going to the Jets, we know that. But of course, we're throwing out some scenarios. But if he falls past the Jets, I'll say this: he's not falling past the 49ers. But he'll get drafted by the Jets. He'll be their first pick, wearing their number 1. I like the fact that now they have receivers and everybody can wear number 1, which is my high school football number. But I like that. Tom Brady wasn't so fond of it. You see the comments he made. But Tom Brady is old school. But with the 3rd pick, Eddie, Shanahan, he's coming to media and said a bunch of different things about, well, if you talk about that one specific interview, of course, where he was talking about he doesn't even know who's going to be alive on Sunday.
And when they asked about Jimmy Garoppolo being on the football team at the end of the draft.
Yes, and if you really thought Garoppolo was going to be your guy, at least for this season,
that's a morbid
you would say yes, he's going to be on the team. So that really tells me, in my opinion,
a morbid answer.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's kind of, it was definitely it was very dismissive and sarcastic for sure. But
it had to suck for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yes, I mean, I know Garoppolo was like sitting back like,
he's like, well,
really?
Let me see what coach has to say about me. And then he says that.
I don't know. He doesn't even know if I'm going to be alive Sunday, Wow. So he's just brushing me off, being dismissive like that. And who knows? Jimmy Garoppolo may be their guy. But with the 3rd pick, I know they're saying Mac Jones, and it very well
Jimmy
may be Mac
Garoppolo
Jones.
is not their guy. He's out.
Or now, will he be out by Sunday is the question. Or by Thursday, by tomorrow.
Depends on what kind of sale you have on him, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I say.
Because if he goes on the clearance rack, I could see somebody biting.
If he somehow ended back up with New England. Like, I even heard Greeny say that, and I totally agree. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends back up with New England. I've said that before in the past, too.
I don't think they ever wanted to trade him. I think
they did want to trade him.
I don't think that, if I remember correctly,
Belichick loves the guy.
Belichick didn't want to trade him, and Kraft sort of forced his hand. It was like, it was 2 against 1, Brady and Kraft against Belichick, and Brady and Kraft won. And so Garoppolo got sent packing for, what was it, a second pick? Yeah. A second-round pick, right?
Second-round pick, right.
Man, I don't know. But what about the rumors we hear about speaking of the Patriots, what about the rumors we hear about them wanting to move up?
Okay, well, I'll touch on that in a second. Let me touch on Frisco right quick, because I honestly think it's going to be Justin Fields. I really think it's going to be Justin Fields.
Well, you're not the only one.
Thursday. Well, most people are saying now, you know the media. The media they're going to make sure Mac Jones is the guy. Like, they're going to persuade the Shanahans to take Mac Jones. It's so many people that had this inside knowledge that Shanahan loves Mac Jones. And, hey, no disrespect to the insiders. If they're doing their homework and they're talking to people inside the building, I get it. But, hey, I believe nothing I see and half of what I hear. So if they make Mac Jones the pick, so be it. I mean, in their eyes, he'll be deserving, and it won't be a surprise. I still think when you trade up to the number 3 pick, When you give up all you gave up with a team that's ready to win right now, with all the pieces around them, a team that's ready to win right now, and I don't, as smart as they say Mac Jones is, you don't trade up. You could get Mac Jones at a lower pick, or you could have traded with somebody with the 7th pick, Detroit or somebody or whoever. You'd have to go up to 3 to go get Mac Jones. So that's number one. And number two, in your heart of hearts, Shanahan and these guys, you know Justin Fields is the guy. You know he's capable. He's probably the best quarterback in the draft. And you can sit there and do all this analyzation of all these other quarterbacks. If you keep it 100, you know Justin Fields is 1A to Trevor Lawrence, period. Zach Wilson is taking over. He's the number 2 pick because of the intrigue and what people see as the upside. And they say it's akin to Patrick Mahomes. So he's leapfrogged to the number 2 pick. And I agree. I think Justin Fields should have been the number 2 pick. You know, I've said that time and time again. But it's obvious the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson. The 49ers are going to draft Justin Fields with that 3rd pick this upcoming Thursday.
I think they should. I don't think they will, and you're not the only guy in this town saying that that's going to happen. I just can't find a reason why.
Seem like I am now.
They would be playing it so coy. I mean, if you thought that there was a chance that New York might be willing to move the number 2 pick, then you say, okay, we play it coy, or Atlanta. Let's say if a team thinks that they would need to jump up to 2 to draft Justin Fields in front of San Francisco. They're like, hey, we have to get in front of San Fran to get this guy. And there's a chance that the Jets would do it. Then they might play it coy and try to make this team think, well, San Francisco's going to draft Mac Jones. New York's going to draft Zach Wilson. Maybe we can trade up to 4 with the Falcons and get Justin Fields. So we won't try to make a move up to 2. That is just, I mean, that is some high level chess maneuvering right there. Though? But I think that, where there's smoke, there's fire. They probably, for whatever reason, are in love with Mac Jones and Trey Lance, and one of them a little bit more than the other, and it's going to be either one of those guys.
Okay, well,
starting
you
to
like
feel
most people,
like Mac Jones.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. You, like most people, feel that way. Feel that it's going to be Mac Jones. And again, of course, hey, I'm not in the draft room. I'm not in those guys' head, but I am, but I'm not. Put it like this. But it wouldn't surprise me, obviously, if Mac Jones is the guy. I mean, a lot of times those first few draft picks go according to what a lot of those people are saying that's done the homework, talk to the people in the organization, talk to certain scouts, talk to, so a lot of times those reports are actually true. But I'm still going to venture out and say, and again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I've been right a whole lot too. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You, like most people, think it's going to be Mac Jones because of his cerebral play, and he fits into Shanahan's scheme so good, and he can be another Matt Ryan. But again, what does Shanahan – and then Trey Lance, they're talking about his upside. But, of course, with Trey Lance, as great as he looks at North Dakota State, he hasn't played to the level of the competition as I would say the same with Zach Wilson that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields has. But he has some upside. When you look at his tape, obviously he's a tremendous athlete who can run the ball. His accuracy, he needs to really work on his accuracy. So if they feel that Garoppolo is going to be there for the foreseeable future, and I think Trey Lance is the guy they pick. I think Trey Lance is the guy they pick because they may feel that he has a better upside. And I still think Justin Fields.
So you roll with Jimmy G while Trey Lance, you sort of groom this guy to take over. It's kind of
hard to say what they're going to do. They have 3 quarterbacks right there. And Shanahan did not give us any indication. He pretty much put it out there that, hey, he can work with a quarterback that's like Mac Jones, or he can work with an athletic quarterback, the type of quarterback that most people say that the game needs today, a la Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and some of these guys, because of the speed and everything that's generated coming from the defense side of the ball. Shanahan pretty much said, hey, yeah, that could be the case, but it also may not be the case because we also see these other quarterbacks. If you look at guys like Drew Brees and all these guys, he's of the ilk that even if Drew Brees came out in the draft today, that's a guy you can't pass up on because he's just going to be that good. Now, whether or not he honestly believes that or not, Thursday will tell, because if he drafts Mac Jones, pretty much what he said in his interview today, or was it yesterday? That's pretty much, then you can say, okay, well, he was honest when saying that. And he still may feel like that even if he did take Justin Fields. But I just think at the end of the day, if you trade up to number 2 and you have a guy to number 3, you want to make sure you draft a guy and he made it clear that he thinks it's at least 3 guys right there that could be that, because he says the other 2 are going to be gone. But he made it clear that it was 5 guys that they felt real strong about. Of course, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are going to be off the board. So, yes, he definitely feels strong about all 3 players. But when you move up to 3 in the draft, when you move up to 3 with a team that's ready to win a Super Bowl already, you want a guy that can come in right now and step in. And that's either Mac Jones or Justin Fields, more so in my opinion, than Trey Lance. But you want a guy that you know is going to be a Hall of Famer that's on the trajectory that you're going to have him for the next 10 to 15 years, and he's more than likely going to be a Hall of Famer. And in your right mind, if you're really evaluating the situation and you're really looking at it, everyone has their own opinion. I respect that. But if you're in your right mind, there's no way you pass up on Justin Fields at number 3. Now, whether or not they do it, he's the head coach, I'm not. But whether or not they do it or not, I'll say this. If they pass up on Justin Fields at number 3, they'll regret it for the rest of their lives. Now, at number 4,
here's what happens, though. If that happens, Fields doesn't go number 3. It's Mac Jones or it's Trey Lance. Let's play that game.
Okay.
Then after that, you've got Atlanta at 4. Now, this is where that pick gets hot.
It really does.
We could see Atlanta move that pick, in a hurry, because I don't think they're looking to draft a quarterback. They have to keep Matty Ice in-house at least 2 more years, I believe, before they're going to be able to move on from him and that hefty contract that he has. He's still pretty good. And maybe they could draft a Kyle Pitts right there. That would be really, really interesting.
Now, that's the question
for them. But
how do they feel about Matt Ryan moving forward? Do they want their successor, who they feel is going to be the quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years? Julio Jones is on the trading block. Supposedly on the trading block right now. So if you're going to keep Matt Ryan, of course you have to supply him with another weapon. And, of course, that's Kyle Pitts. Now, if they don't feel Matt Ryan is their guy,
Jamar Chase
then it'll
is still
be Justin
available
Fields
there, too.
or whoever's there for Trey Lance or Mac Jones.
Yeah, why not? I feel like if Justin Fields doesn't go 3, the phone's going to start ringing. Somebody's going to start calling, offering for that pick. And maybe they say, okay, no, we're going to sit here and we're going to draft Kyle Pitts or we're going to draft Jamar Chase. But the way I'm seeing it, you're not going to get a quarterback unless there's a trade drafting at 4. I don't see Cincinnati trading out. They want to add to their talent.
Atlanta is definitely trade bait.
Yeah, and then Miami, a team sitting at 6, doesn't look like they're going to draft a quarterback. It looks like.
But what about Cincy at 5 though?
What I said, I think they're gonna. I think they're probably gonna go. Yeah, they could go with a tackle.
I think they're gonna go with Panay
or they could go with Jamar
Joe
Chase. That would be a great pick. I think it'd be a great pick.
Kyle Pitts is there.
But
Kyle Pitts is not dropping past 5. Kyle Pitts. Hey, and you talking about Atlanta, and we're talking about Atlanta being trade bait. Hell, if all accounts are true, and Jerry Jones loves Kyle Pitts as much as he does, he's going to upset a lot of people and a lot of Cowboy fans.
I guess
if he trades up to that number 4 pick and gives up the next 2 first-rounders or whatever he has to give up, I don't know what he would have to give up this year, but he may trade up to Atlanta with Atlanta to go get Kyle Pitts.
Now, but here's the deal. That may be so. All of that may happen. The point I'm trying to make is, you look at it, there may not be another quarterback taken, and you get down to Detroit, they've got Jared Goff. We know they're not sold on him, but who knows? Detroit hasn't really done things logically for a long time now. But you look at Carolina at 8. Is there a chance? Is there an off chance that Justin Fields just falls right into their lap? And if you're a team like a New England who we're hearing, they're gung-ho for some Justin Fields or for a guy like Mac Jones, don't think they have what it takes to get up to 3 if they're going to get Mac, or if San Francisco wants Mac. But if Justin Fields falls into this 4, 5, 6, 7 area, or even further, New England's coming armed to the teeth.
No, I mean, no doubt.
And they're going to go after getting that guy, getting Justin Fields,
okay, so
because there's no way that Bill Belichick. And I do want to talk about Bill Belichick and how he's doing everything that he's never done before. He's spending all this money in free agency.
They need to quit turning off that damn air, bro. I'm serious, man. Eddie called me a diva a couple weeks ago, but hey, they need to quit turning off this damn air.
Belichick spending all this money in free agency. Now he's about to go up and draft a quarterback. high in the draft, a premium pick, trade up into the top 10, a Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson type of move, even higher than that. You could call it a Mitchell Trubisky type move, but we know how that turned out. But he's going to try and do this and bring in a quarterback, or the rumors are he's going to try to bring in a young quarterback and keep going at this thing and try to bring New England
even
back to the, to Mount Olympus.
Yeah,
even with Cam Newton.
So you're going, so you, see, I thought
if
we were
you
going down
want
the list
Justin,
one by one
oh no,
for like
if you,
first 10 to 15 picks.
Right, no, I'm just,
I got you though.
Well, I just wanted to talk about
I think New England
how
definitely,
it pertains to the quarterbacks, because there's been rumors that quarterbacks could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and even 5 if Cincinnati wanted to trade out of that pick. I don't think they will. But if you want Justin Fields, you have to get in front of Carolina, because if you don't, and the Lions don't take him as their future guy to take the place of Jared Goff when they move on from him, if Carolina comes on the clock at 8, I don't care what they gave up for Sam Darnold. If Justin Fields is sitting there on the board, they're taking him. It's an easy pick.
You say the Patriots?
No, the Carolina Panthers.
The Panthers at 8?
If he's there.
I don't think so.
What? You don't think so?
You know what? I think what Carolina was
as
doing
gung-ho as they were for Deshaun Watson, as bad as they want a quarterback.
In that situation,
Sam Darnold.
I think Carolina would probably.
Sam Darnold doesn't change things that much.
I think they
for
believe
them.
in Sam, but I think they're going to give Sam Darnold that chance. Now, of course, it's just now. I see what you're saying. If Justin Fields is there, that makes that pick very, very, very interesting, and he's almost somebody that you can't pass up.
It
on.
makes 4,
you
5, 6, and 7
at that time.
Really hot.
I think they take Rashawn Slater at that position.
It makes him hot.
They take a lineman, and I think they believe in Sam Darnold. I think they're going to give him a chance. I think with those offensive minds that they have over there at head coach and Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, I think they're going to believe that they can make Sam Darnold, who was the number 3 pick in the draft the year he got drafted by the Jets. I think they're really going to roll with Sam Darnold. What I think they do with that 8th pick, even if Justin Fields is there, is if they don't trade out of it. But I think they take Rashawn Slater and they help protect Sam Darnold, give him some protection, and try to build that team around him. And, of course, you also get another lineman for Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the game, and you want to keep him healthy. But Justin Fields is intriguing, man. Again,
that's a good point.
I still think he's going to be drafted by San Francisco.
I just think there's going to be so many opportunities for teams to trade back and accumulate draft capital. I mean, even if you think Carolina is going to draft, the Slater kid, okay, Denver's up next at 9. You think they're going to let Justin Fields slip by them? I highly doubt that.
No, Denver's going to draft Justin
Fields.
He's
right behind. They're right behind Carolina, and then Dallas is right behind them. Where I've heard some rumors that they may be entertaining trade talks for trading that pick if somebody wants to come up and give them a king's ransom. To get that pick if Fields is somehow still on the board there. I just don't see it happening.
What?
I said that there's been rumors that the Cowboys would be interested in trading the pick if somebody wanted to trade up to number 10 if somehow, some way Justin Fields was still on the board. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
that's where you could really get high value there.
Would be gone by
because
then,
you know that the Cowboys, if a guy they really like for their secondary is right there, it's going to be hard for Jerry and company to not pick that guy.
Well, that's what they're going to pick.
They're not prone, or they don't usually trade back. It's not what they like to do. They're more of pick a guy who's there and available, the best player they can get. And so I just think it would have to be a team coming up to get a quarterback for them to really even consider trading out of that pick.
The Cowboys.
Yes.
I mean, if the Cowboys trade out of that pick, they're basically saying that they don't feel that it's anybody that's worth the 10th pick that they feel is going to be that much of an impact, or they feel they can't get the same type of value for down the line. And then they'll accumulate maybe another draft pick or so and add to their depth and hopefully make the right pick right there. But as far as the Cowboys, I mean, yes, if Denver at 9 would definitely take. I don't think they're sold on Andrew Luck. If Justin Fields is there, or any one of those quarterbacks.
Andrew Luck, you did what you do sometimes.
I mean,
you blend names of good quarterbacks with names of highly suspect quarterbacks.
You're right.
Andrew Luck. Who the hell is this guy?
I said Andrew Luck earlier, but Drew Lock is definitely not. I mean, I don't know if they believe him. I'm not necessarily sold that Drew Lock is not the guy. I still see the potential in Drew Lock. I mean, of course, you played last season. He played, I mean, it was a COVID season. He had his best receiver out with injury. I mean, so, the tight end was out with injury a lot. So I'm not too sure that Drew Lock can still be that guy that you thought he could be when you drafted him in the second round.
I wonder
if
Denver,
Justin Fields is there, they're
I
probably
wonder
going to take
if
Justin
Denver
Fields.
is on the phone with Atlanta. If they really do want a quarterback and they want to trade up, they're like, hey, we'll go up to number 4 if we can and get our guy, whether it be Lance or it be Justin Fields. I just feel like these top 8, 9, 10, there's going to be so much movement because if you're Denver or if you're Atlanta and you get trade back to 9 with Denver, I think that's highly ideal for you. You're still going to get a premier quality player to plug in on a team that, hey, I know Julio Jones is on the trading block, but there's still some meat on the bone for this team. If they correct a few things, they're not that far removed from a team that was winning a lot of football games.
Yeah. Well, let's rewind real quick. And as far as the Cowboys, too, I'm going to tell you right now. Now, Sean Lee just retired. And I know the Cowboys do not need really linebacker help. The only thing is you don't know what Vander is. You don't know how his neck is going to hold up. A tremendous young player. Then you pair him with of course, Jalen Smith, and you have 2 fixtures right there, linebacker again. But if Micah Parsons is somehow Detroit needs to rebuild their whole team, so you don't know who they're going to draft. They can go with Devontae Smith. They can go with if they believe in Jalen Waddle. If they believe in Jared Goff, do they go with a weapon for him like a Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, or somebody like that? Or do they go to the defense side of the ball? Because I'm going to tell you right now, a prospect that I'm telling you is flying under the radar, but he's been picking up steam as of late, but who I think is going to be a special talent, and that's Michael Parsons. And Detroit, they can also nab him. So Detroit, they pretty much need everything right now on their team. But the Cowboys, if Michael Parsons is sitting right there at 10, he's so special. Is there a defensive lineman, an edge rusher that you think you can use that can come in and make an immediate impact? Michael Parsons is a guy, he can rush the quarterback. He can cover the best running back on the field. He can cover the tight end. I'm talking about he's just a playmaker. He's all over the field. So that's a classic case where you pick the best player available. If Michael Parsons is sitting there at 10, I wouldn't be mad at all if the Cowboys took him. And these other cornerbacks, and then they have to hit on the other rounds and get them a cornerback that can come in and play right away. But sometimes you have to go with that gut, and you have to go with who the best player is on the board. If you harken back, I'm going to take you back real quick, and I promise we'll come back to what we're talking about, but like we always do. 1974 draft. 1974, speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, a guy by the name of Ed Too Tall Jones, 6'9", coming out of Tennessee State. That's before most of these teams were not drafting out of small black schools for the most part. That's really the year when it really started jumping off. Look at guys like Bill Nunn with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You see what the Pittsburgh Steelers did in that draft. They got like 4 Hall of Famers, Lynn Swann, Starworth, Mike Webster, and who was the other one in 74? Was it Jack Lambert? But that's what 74 did. But Too Tall Jones, most people did not think he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft coming out of Tennessee State. But the Cowboys and Tom Landry said, hey, you know what? This is the best player in this draft. And they told him, we don't draft for position. We draft the best player available. They're like, if you are the best player available, we'll find somewhere for you to play and for you to contribute. And they felt that he was the best player in that draft. They took him with the number 1 pick because they were operating from that premise like, okay, this is the best talent right here on the board. But if Michael Parsons is there at 10, I would not be mad one bit if the Cowboys took him. Of course, we know they need a cornerback, and they can use some defensive line help. But again, if Michael Parsons is there at 10, with Sean Lee now retired, and you even said as much that you said it on a number of occasions, and you see the impact that Devin White and Devin Bush and these middle linebackers have on these teams, you see the impact that Devin White had on the Tampa Bay championship defense. If Michael Parsons is there at 10, you have to take him. You have to take him. And I don't think they're going to trade up and get Kyle Pitts. And you know I'm on
No.
record as saying, if you can get him. But they're not going to do that. He'll be gone by 4.
You Cowboys
Let's
fans
rewind real
are all
quick.
the
Eddie.
same. But no, real quick, I do want to touch on that. It's because I see where you're coming from, and if you believe he is that level of talent, like we're talking about Devin White, Devin Bush, you think he's one of those guys?
Yes, sir.
And he looks like he fits the bill. The only thing is, which one of your inside linebackers you're going to take off the field?
But see, that's what I'm saying.
And how do you make him? How do you make it work? You have to know how
put him in outside linebacker.
You're going to have to know how you make it work.
You just get him on the field.
Okay. I'm just saying they have to know how they're going to make it work
because you get him coming off that edge, then you move him sometime to the inside when you take Jalen Smith off the field for whatever reason, and you just put him on the field. If you even have to play Michael Parsons at strong safety, I mean, the Michael Parsons is there at 10. He's a guy that's a one-man wrecking crew on defense type of player, and that's a talent you just don't pass up. And that's why I made that comment about Kyle Pitts last week. Everybody, yeah, they have all this offense, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, true enough. But Kyle Pitts is so special. As much offense as the Cowboys have, you add Kyle Pitts into that mix. Now, they're not going to get Kyle Pitts unless they, again, trade up. But you add that talent to that mix with those receivers, it'll be like a Kansas City effect. And that's the same thing I'm saying about Michael Parsons. And you see what Devin White did for the defense. But guys like that, once-in-a-generation type players that can affect the game the way they can, talk about Kyle Pitts. Well, they're probably going to cover him with defensive backs. And it doesn't matter. The guy is 6'6", 245, and runs a 4.4. He separates from cornerbacks. His catch radius, his hands and arms hang down to his knees. I mean, his catch radius is out the roof.
He
runs routes like receivers.
Greg wants Kyle Pitts to be a Cowboy so bad that he can't figure out if he's talking about Micah Parsons or Kyle Pitts.
No, listen. What I'm saying as it relates to the Cowboys, when you have a talent right there, no matter that, that's why I said about Too Tall Jones. Whoever the best player is at that point, go get him. That's the point I'm making about Kyle. Yeah, man, of course.
You think he'll be the best player on the board, Micah Parsons right there? I
think he'll be gone. If people are smart, Micah Parsons won't even be there at 10. I don't give a damn how many quarterbacks go in the draft.
Not.
Whoever that first defensive player is, if you're drafting in the top 10, like somebody like Carolina, I said Rashawn Slater, but again, Micah Parsons, I mean, that's a guy right there. He has to be a top 10 pick. If he falls, they're saying that he may fall. If he falls, New England will take him, which is probably the case. But going back real quick,
we may not
Eddie,
see a defensive player until the Cowboys draft.
I know
we may not see one.
That's true. And if he's there, I'm saying
I just want to know how the Cowboys feel,
man, because you can't pass him up.
Yeah, you just have to know what you're going to do about some of the other holes that you have. Hopefully, you can fill them later in the draft.
That's why you have other draft picks.
Yeah. No, I agree. But man. A brand new shiny new corner would be nice.
Caleb Farley has back. Now that's a guy I like. He's a guy, Caleb Farley from Vitek. Here's a guy that can run a 4.2 40. He's a great cover corner. Now people have concerns about his back. He's had 2 back surgeries. One not too long ago. His second one, I think, since the season. So he hasn't been able to work out for a lot of teams. But if his back checks out.
Top 10.
Yeah, I mean, that's how special he can be. So,
but
Patrick Surtain, I like Surtain,
nervous, man.
But is he a guy that can just take a side of the field away? I mean, yeah, you can say, oh, man, you need a corner. But damn, bro, that's why you have the rounds 2 through 7 as well. And it's plenty of talent. If you know how to scout, it's plenty of talent that you can find to come in and make immediate impacts. Again, it's Patrick Surtain. If he's there, is he the best player on the board? Is he the best player on the board if Micah Parsons is there? And even though you say, okay, I have 2 good linebackers already, I mean, you get Micah Parsons and you just play him all over the damn defense. Let him just cause havoc. So we'll see what happens. Going back real quick to the Dolphins. The Dolphins had a 6th pick.
Number 6.
Now, of course, they believe in Tua right now. So that's who they're going to roll with. They're going to roll with Tua. And you have to get Jamar Chase. You have to get Jamar Chase because I think Kyle Pitts will be gone. Kyle Pitts will be the first pass catcher off the board.
Yeah.
But you have to get Jamar Chase and you have to get Tua a big-time weapon, which Jamar Chase is. You saw what he did at LSU his junior year when Joe Burrow, or was it his sophomore year, when Joe Burrow, when they had the best offense ever, won the national championship. I mean, the guy plays like Dez Bryant, but faster. He's physical. I mean, he's a big play receiver who can take the top of the off of the defense as well. I mean, he can run intermediate routes. Again, he's physical. He's strong. He's great run after the catch. He is a big play, big time receiver. I think you need somebody like that for Tua. So Miami's going to draft a pass catcher with that 6th pick. And I think Jamar Chase is the guy. And again, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, the Giants had that 11th pick. If one of those guys are sitting right there, I see them giving Daniel Jones maybe somebody like a Jalen Waddle.
Maybe. But Miami, man, they could go so many different ways. A lot of people feel like it's going to be a pass catcher, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Cincinnati pass on Penei Sewell and he's there. Okay. Don't be surprised if they go ahead and take their big tackle. I mean, you look at this receiving class.
Wait. You say don't be surprised if they pass on Penei Sewell?
No, if they pass on Waddle and go for the tackle.
Oh, no, that's what I said earlier. I think that's what they're going to take.
You know, it's a very this is a deep class. Terrence Marshall, LSU, Rondale Moore, Purdue. As you get down to some of the guys that are going to go in the later rounds, Kadarius Toney from Florida. These are all guys that can come in and end up being very productive NFL wide receivers. You may not necessarily have to go for the shiny new toy. It doesn't always work out. We've seen receivers have trouble adjusting to the NFL. To the speed of the game, and to just developing the talent to be effective in tight spaces. I wouldn't be surprised if they did either.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you look at the Joe Burrow connection right there. That immediately,
but he's coming off a knee injury too. He also needs his protection. So.
That immediately makes it, it kind of makes you. Kind of giddy thinking about putting them two back together. That's a championship combination, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got to keep Joe Burrow upright. And Sewell could be the guy there. Who's that other? Garsall, the other big tackle. That's a possibility for them to take there. Darrisaw.
Okay.
Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech.
Elijah Vera Tuck out of USC.
Big guy. I mean, there's a lot of good tackles, and they're going to go off the board quickly. You know that those are some of the best picks that you can make when you take that left tackle, because it's not a sexy pick, as they say, like Carlos Correa likes to say. It's not a sexy pick, so to speak, but it's a guy that when you hit on these guys, they're in your organization as stalwarts for 10, 15 years or even longer. You think about Donald Penn's old ass with the long hair going down the back. Yeah, the guys who just
Hall of Famers.
Into their mid and late 30s, you could get one of those kind of guys in your organization.
And when you draft that high,
that's a grand slam.
An offensive lineman, right? When
you don't have to
draft that high,
worry about it anymore.
That's what you're hoping for, right?
Absolutely.
When you draft that high, that's what you're hoping for. And like we're both saying, I mean, obviously Joe Burrow needs his protection. And I agree, it's not a sexy pick, but you have to know that the game starts from the inside out. The game starts from the inside out. So you build that interior on both sides of the football. You establish that, and then you work on the shiny toys. And it would be hard to pass up Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase does not fall past the Miami Dolphins at number 6. And that's if Kyle Pitts is already off the board to Atlanta. And we all know it's going to be some willing and dealing. I mean, we've thrown a few scenarios up there. At least you've thrown a few scenarios up there about possible, like the Patriots trading up and possible teams moving out of their draft position. That's going to happen, and we're going to be throwing some curveballs, especially in the latter part of the first round, mid to latter part of the first round. Teams are going to be jockeying for position to get certain players that were high on their board, that they think that another team may be interested in that's actually drafted in front of them. So, of course, we know there are going to be 5 quarterbacks that's going to be drafted in the top 10. That's almost like a given right now. And even if one of these teams have to move up, like a Patriots or someone of that ilk. So we shall see now. As far as running backs are concerned, who do you have? I have Najee Harris being the first running back off the board. Now, teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers need running back. Need a running back. And there are some teams. Najee Harris is going in the first round.
Is that what you think? So
I think Travis Etienne may. I think the Steelers can use an offensive lineman as well, obviously. But Najee Harris, I like Etienne as well. Najee Harris is, I think, a guy that's 6'1", 235 whichever team is going to take that chance on a running back, I can see the Steelers doing it to go with the weapons that they have on the offensive side of the ball. I can see them doing it, taking some of the pressure off of Ben.
Absolutely, but to your previous point, if you feel like things aren't right on the interior, and especially with a statue back there in Big Ben, he's definitely not the Big Ben that he used to be. To me, it's got to be 100% offensive line. If there's a guy there, unless they're gone, if there's a guy there, you got to get some help in there.
Well, see, that's the thing right there. No. Because you definitely, what's the use of having Najee Harris if he doesn't have the line?
Because we've seen them make guys like Jalen Samuels and other running backs,
I think at 24,
James Conner into, really, really good running backs whenever the offensive line is clicking and Ben is clicking. But when they're not able to keep pressure 24, out of the middle, then they struggle.
Yeah. Now, I think at 24, if it's an offensive lineman that they know can come in and start immediately, be a fixture on that offensive line, and be a guy that can play for the next 10 years at that position, then they probably would go with an offensive lineman and build that interior. But a guy like Najee Harris, that's a chance to get a special running back right there that you can have for the next 10 years as well. Then, of course, you make sure you draft a couple of linemen in the later rounds and hope that they turn out to be good players, that they're gems that maybe that you knew about, that you were able to discover, that other people probably wasn't able to discover. But you have to do your homework. But Najee Harris, Eddie, I just think Najee Harris out of Alabama, man, 6'1", 235. These days, you have these running backs, these all-around running backs who can pretty much do it all. I just think he's a guy that can be a workhorse for you, that can be a big play guy, doesn't have the deep, long speed where he's just going to, every time he gets the ball, he's a threat to take it the distance like Etienne. But he can take it the distance, though. And great between the tackles, great footwork, great out of the backfield, very competitive. I just think Najee Harris can be special. I really think Najee Harris can be special. And whoever drafted a running back in the first round, I think he's the first one off the board. Etienne is the type of guy, for his stature, I like Etienne a lot. I like him a whole lot. I think he's a very powerful runner for what they list him as, 6 foot, 200 pounds or something like that?
Yeah, something in that neighborhood.
He's a very powerful runner, can be a bit more patient. He sizes up the defense, and he pretty much knows before he gets the ball where he thinks his cutting lane is going to be and this and that. Sometimes he kind of jumps into that lane too soon and gets bottled up because he doesn't let things materialize. But the guy's a slasher, and once he sees the seam, he likes to attack it. Just has to be a bit more patient. But again, a guy that's always churning out more yards, moving forward, very strong. And I noticed it from his freshman year. One thing I noticed about Etienne, when he would get the football, he was just so tough to bring down. Then I noticed his sophomore year, they were saying, well, he added more muscle to make sure he's harder to bring down or whatever. And I was saying to myself, that's the first thing I noticed about him his freshman year was how strong he was and the way he broke tackles.
So
he's a guy that can break tackles.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How you manage your body and whether or not you decide to put on this much weight, that much weight. Sometimes running backs come into the NFL and they think they need to change their bodies, or their team convinces them that they need to change their bodies, and then they do, and they're not as productive. They don't have the twitch anymore. They don't have that burst. They're trying to figure out why. We saw it with Steve Slayton here, who early on in his career with the Houston Texans was very promising, very fast, twitchy back coming out of the backfield. Kyle Shanahan made him look phenomenal. He almost looked like Raheem Mostert or one of them backs that Tevin Coleman that Shanahan likes to use nowadays. Slayton was looking really good.
A big play guy, man.
He goes and puts on 20 pounds in the offseason, and he's never the same guy.
Yeah.
And it really changed his career. It's curious to me to see how some of these guys, Etienne, how they may manage their body going into the NFL. But you may be right about Najee Harris. I'm not so sure. We probably will see a running back taken in the first round. If we do, it will be Najee Harris.
A great ball club, actually.
And that is something you got to know, where he's got future NFL guys all around him. But he definitely is a phenomenal back and a phenomenal prospect. You see some mock drafts taking him, having him going to Miami.
See what he did to my Buckeyes in the national championship game.
Oh, it was brutal.
Man.
Some mock drafts have him going to Miami at 18. There's a lot of rumors that they really love Najee Harris. Add him, put him back behind Tua Tagovailoa and see if magic can happen there.
Though. I forget that Miami has 2 picks in the first round.
They do.
6 and number 18.
They do.
No. Let let me state my case again. Then I think Miami with the 18th pick as well, because I just went to 15 right here. I didn't have 18th wrote down, but you're right. Miami has the 18th pick. I too think that they draft a Najee Harris. Let me say that. If Najee Harris is there at 18, I think you give Tua all the weapons he needs right now, and you continue to add to that. You already had a formidable defense, and the way they draft
added Will Fuller in the
they added Will Fuller on a
agency.
1-year deal. So you give him the weapons that he needs, Jamar Chase, and then at running back, you get a Najee Davenport back there, and you build that team like that where you get him his position, his skill position weapons. If you draft a quarterback that high, he needs some weapons to work with. Jamar Chase is 6, and then at 18, you go with Najee Harris, and then so you have a threat coming out of the backfield who you can dump the ball to on screens, and Najee Harris can run routes, and you know once he gets the ball in his hands, he can make things happen. So he's a big play waiting to happen anytime he touches the ball. So that just adds, you add a big play receiver in Jamar Chase, and you add a Najee Davenport at 18, I can definitely see that happening at 18.
Now, here we go. You remember some of the predictions we made for the Dolphins whenever they started making some of these moves. These picks and whether or not they hit on them are going to tell the tale if we were right about the Miami Dolphins and where we thought that team was headed underneath the tutelage of Brian Flores and the likes of the others that they have over there. Oh, man, dude, when we get a little bit deeper further down towards the end of the draft, the end of the first round, Etienne might be able to sneak in there. But if it's going to be anybody, I think it's going to be Najee Harris. The only thing that's working against these kids, because I think in other NFL drafts, or other years, I should say, they're probably going to be first-round picks. I think that just with the limited availability of high-value or highly touted pass rushers, the limited availability of highly touted offensive linemen, and then the run that you're going to get on quarterbacks and on wide receivers, because there's so much good talent at wide receiver, and there are some premium players, some premium speed out there. Everybody would love to add their Tyreek Hill, their DeAndre Hopkins, somebody of that nature. Every team who has a need at wide receiver is going to be after one of those guys. That may end up working against them. Teams may decide to get these guys while the iron is hot, while you can still get one of them premier players at that position, and hope that maybe they can strike in the later rounds on a running back like an Alvin Kamara, that type of pick, where you get a guy in the third round like a Kareem Hunt, you get a guy like that, and you find a productive back, and you didn't have to use first round draft capital to get one. But it is going to be, there are going to be some teams who are tempted to do so.
In the 4th round.
Right.
Zeke was a 4th pick so I think what's happening now is a lot of these teams are again, I think Najee Davenport is just a guy that the way teams are, where offense is so everything right now, when you have guys that can be all-around backs that can play 3 downs, I think running backs are becoming more and more important once again to the offense, a very productive offense as well, because, of course they give you, especially if you have that dual threat running back who can give you something out of the backfield in the passing game as well as the running game. We all know this is a passing league right now. But in order to pass, you also have to keep the defense honest. And if you have a running game to boot, that just bodes well for your team. You can control the time of possession. You can control the clock if you have a strong, established running game. And I think running backs are becoming more prevalent again because the way the game is now and the fact that a lot of these guys can be dual threats. And I just think Najee Harris is a guy, he's that special to where he's a guy that can win 2 or 3 games for you by himself just because of his exploits and the things he can do on the football field. You've seen him jump over people and just make these big plays. But so a running back like that, Etienne might last to the 2nd round. I can see him lasting to early 2nd round because we're always talking about these teams and what they have in the 1st round. These teams also have 2nd round picks.
Yes.
And you'd be very surprised to see some guys fall to a team that when you thought that guy was going to be off the board. So the draft is going to be crazy. It's going to be intriguing. We're definitely going to get some curveballs. It's going to be really interesting to see
right there
what
at
the
the top
49ers do.
At the top of the 2nd round, the Jaguars have a need at running back too after Leonard Fournette moving
in right there to go with Trevor Lawrence.
Man, you bring those two teammates in, Clemson down in Florida, Clemson South.
And you know Urban Meyer wants to build that team. He wants that team to be built on speed. And he wants that team to be built on home run hitting ability. And so he's going to try to put as much speed around Trevor Lawrence as possible. And if Etienne is there in that second round when they pick, I mean, I can see Jacksonville taking them for sure.
And by the way, just to go back, like I always love to do, just a little bit to your beloved Cowboys.
It's all good. We just kicking it.
Daryl Lowe chiming in says he actually likes Horn better for you guys.
Hey man, I'm glad Daryl brought up. I was just about to bring J.C. Horn up, but we had kind of got off the subject. And I
mean,
said,
him and Surtain are both big guys. They're big, good cover guys. But I mean, either one of them.
And he has some good bloodlines. Of course, he's Horn that played for the Saints. Joe Horn's
Joe
son
Horn
that played for the Saints was a very good wide receiver. So it's in his bloodline. You look at Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain is Patrick Surtain II. His dad was a very good cornerback for the Miami Dolphins. Then you have guys like Asante Samuel. No, I like
Asante Samuel Jr. That's another. He's
probably
going to go at the back end of the first round.
He can even fall in the first round. Now, he's not a big, tall corner. He's probably like 5'9", 5'10". I would say more like 5'9".
Man.
But I saw him play in high school. I saw the instincts that he had then. And I said, that boy just like his dad.
Just like, Asante Samuel, man.
Had those instincts, man.
He'll jump a route.
In a heartbeat.
Man,
I love watching them play.
There were some years where you had Asante Samuel on the corner. He
was a ball hawk.
You play him in Madden, you're jumping underneath anything, and that boy's going to the house.
Yes.
I mean, you aren't going to stop him. All you're going to see on the back is Deuce and Samuel.
That's it.
Hey, he's a bad
Samuel
man.
was a ball hawk.
You see a lot of that. You see a lot of that in junior as well.
Yes, and I saw him play in high school, and I said because he was a high school All-American out of Florida, out of the state of Florida. And I watched one of those high school games he played, and they kept saying Asante Samuel Jr. He was a junior at the time. I said, he's going to be real good. And he ended up going to Florida State, but I see some of those same instincts and some of that same reaction ability that his dad has. Again, he's only like about 5'9", but he's a guy that you put in a nickel, and you just let him just take a receiver all over the field, or you put, I mean, he may turn out to be the best corner in the draft for all I know. But he's athletic for his size, so he can jump. He's one of those Dirk Minifield type players. I don't know if you remember Dirk Minifield. He used to play for the Cleveland Browns back in the day. About 5'8", 5'9", it just getting your grill. Darryl Green, about 5'8", 5'9". You know, we all know Darryl Green is a Hall of Famer. So even though you have a lot of these big receivers now, you know, 6'2", 6'3", I mean, you have a guy 5'9", that's getting low enough to where they're hindering them and getting below their pad level and nudging them all the way down the field or just jugging at them all day. I mean, I can see Asante Samuel making some noise. And there's some cornerbacks in this draft. Again, Caleb Farley out of Tech, who I like a lot. But we'll see about the back. We'll see about that back. But the draft is going to be very interesting, Eddie, and I really look forward to it. Again, I still want to see what Frisco does, of course. I think they're going to take Justin Fields. I hope I'm right, and I think I'm going to be right on that one. If I'm not, I'm not. Oh, well. But if they're smart, they'll take him.
Unless we see some trade happen, Justin Fields may fall down to Carolina, and if he's there, I think they're going to take him.
So you think Carolina would take him? Even though I think they're all in on Sam Bradford right now. Now, it would be interesting if Justin Fields fall down to Carolina. But I think if Carolina's sitting right there and Justin Fields is right there, they may take a couple of trade offers from someone, and they may just be like, okay, well, we can get who we were probably going to get anyway, maybe a few spots down. Because we're going to roll with Sam Darnold, and we're going to probably draft an offensive lineman, or maybe Michael Parsons will be there at pick 11 or time. I don't know. We'll see.
I just know how bad they wanted a quarterback, like how bad they wanted Deshaun Watson, and you just if one of those guys, those types of quarterbacks is sitting right there in particular, like I said, Justin Fields, I don't know. I don't know if they could resist.
You don't know if they will.
I don't know if they could resist.
Do you take the best player available at that time?
Yeah, because going
back to my point. I mean,
because if Greg Beatty was on the clock, I think he's taking Justin Fields. Sam Darnold will be down.
I'm taking Justin Fields with the number 2 pick. I'll be honest. I'm taking with the number 2 pick with the Jets if I'm on the clock. But I just think Carolina. I honestly feel that when they signed Sam Darnold, man to man, they told him, you're going to be our guy, and we're going to work with you. We believe in you. We don't feel that you had the best situation at your previous stop, and I just think they feel that they can make Sam Darnold look more like that number 3 pick that he was, and I think they're going to roll with Sam Darnold. But we shall see. Right, again, a lot is going to transpire that we don't anticipate, especially in the mid to later part of these rounds, and so. And there's going to be some movement. Someone is going to jump into the top 10 that's not already there. We'll see who that is. And it's going to be some willing and dealing. There's going to be a few trades that day. So Thursday is going to be fun. I look very, very, very forward to it. And, of course, next week we'll come in.
I'm looking forward to hearing that jingle for the next 4 days. Every time the pick goes in, they do the little jingle. Man, dude, that sound, dude, I'll have it playing in my headphones at work all day long. Even though my team's not picking until the 3rd round, I'm going to be dialed into this thing, top to bottom.
Who do the Texans pick? We've talked
by
about
the time we get down to the third round,
is
who knows who's going to be there?
Right?
But it's a deep draft. It's a deep draft for cornerbacks. It's a deep draft for defensive backs.
They need to rebuild, of course.
They may even look at drafting a wide receiver. I don't know, but I think
like steak if y'all
they're going to address the defense, certainly. And I think with the first pick, they're probably going to find some help in the secondary. You've got to. Or if there's an edge rusher you like there, I don't know, but I really think, like your Cowboys, they need help in the secondary.
Yeah, the Cowboys definitely need defense. Now, I talked all that Kyle Pitts stuff. I just mean I don't think they trade up to go get Kyle Pitts. I don't think that's the logical thing to do.
Most people think Kyle Pitts isn't going to get past Atlanta. If they do, you would think that they're saying, okay, we're going to win this year or next year, and because you have to give up a lot to do that, and he's not going to be there at 10, so that's not going to happen. I'm just saying with a talent like that. But, okay, the Texans need to rebuild so they can go any type of direction, of course. And these pass rushers, of course, the Cowboys definitely need defensive help. Make no mistake about that. But is Patrick Surtain the guy? Is Michael Parsons the guy? I would venture to believe that they would probably take Patrick Surtain if he's there. But me, I would take Michael Parsons, and I would find me a cornerback. I don't know if Patrick Surtain is that damn special. I think Michael Parsons is special. But, hey, so we shall see, Eddie Cox. We shall see. Of course, real quick, baseball, hey, last week we were talking about people saying that baseball wasn't as fun to watch, and we've heard some people say that as of late. I still love watching baseball. I still love baseball. To be honest with you, I'm more invested in baseball season right now than I am basketball season because LeBron's still not back. KD just coming back. You never know when they're gonna play. You never know when this player is gonna be out. You have your guy in Utah, Donovan Mitchell, is out. Just tell me when the playoffs start. Tell me when the playoffs start, and then we'll go from there. Right now, honestly, I'm more invested in baseball. And I'm going to tell you a series that I love, a rivalry that I love. Now, Clayton Kershaw tried to downplay it when they asked him before the last series against San Diego about the rivalry. He pretty much said, how does a rivalry start? I think that was Clayton Kershaw's way of saying, what in the hell has San Diego done for y'all to call them our rival? That's what he was saying without actually saying it. But I think the Padres have shown, especially the last series, winning 3 out of 4. I still think the Dodgers are the team to beat. I still think now, of course, they're playing without Cody Bellinger right now. And with their pitching staff, the difference is, and I like that shirt you have on, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the difference is now, and you saw in that last series, the Padres have a guy that's back by the name of Fernando the Beast Tatis. And you saw what he did. He hit 5 home runs in 2 games, and he was off to a slow start. Hurt his shoulder. We were sitting here when they showed him getting hurt, remember? Right, yep.
I thought he was gone for the season. And even when he came back, I said to myself, I even told a friend of mine, I said, this dude cannot be healthy. He cannot be healthy that quick. But that's the same thing I said about when Patrick Mahomes cracked his kneecap a couple of years ago, and he came back before you know it, and I said, that guy's one of the chosen ones. He's one of the chosen ones because there's no damn way in the world he's supposed to be coming back from a fractured kneecap that quick and running like that. Tatis came back and he's already in the – now he's only batting like 230 right now because he started out the season batting like 1-something. He was more than a slump. But I think it's safe to say that he's out of that slump now.
Well, fortunate for Patrick Mahomes, it was only a dislocated kneecap with no ligament damage. And, yeah, he came back. It was amazing because I watched it. Yeah. I think they were playing the Broncos that night.
Anytime I hear cracked kneecap, I'm like, that just sounds bad.
It looked like he definitely was going to require surgery, and the season, his season was going to be over. Little did we know, all he would do was go on and win a Super Bowl championship after that happened. But yeah, I mean, dude, the Dodgers, one of the hottest teams in baseball, they were on a real roll there. Even rolled over the Padres, in a 3-game series, 2 out of 3. But when they came back and played that 4-game series, it was a different story. San Diego came to play. And I don't know which one of these teams. I'm not a Dodgers fan. I don't like the Dodgers at all. Right. And I think it's typical Dodgers to when a team, wants to, rival you or wants to talk about any type of, competition between you two. It doesn't surprise me one bit that the Dodgers are looking down their nose and thumbing their nose and doing all that crap that they always do. They are one of the biggest diva teams. And had they not won, they finally won the World Series. They should have won, back before I was even born. They finally won the World Series that they've been coveting for so long. Credit to them for doing that. They deserve credit for it, but they're acting like they're the freaking Patriots over here. When let's face it, they're not. And San Diego's a young, hot team with
Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a dynasty.
Well,
they may be really, really good, and they may be the World Series.
And they may be the
defending World Series champion. But just because a team that they just kicked your ass 3 out of 4. So I mean, if you want to talk about what have you done for me lately, I think it's good enough to say. They're good enough to be their rival. And on top of that,
I mean, I totally agree.
On top of that,
the Dodgers are the best team in baseball right now.
No, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
No, but to your point, and that's why I brought up the Padres, and that's why I said, no, the Padres are definitely a viable contender. I would still have to pick the Dodgers that I have to pick right now with their pitching staff. You're going to get Cody Bellinger back. I just think the Dodgers consistently through their lineup, I mean, there's not an easy out. They just chip away at you. They chip away at you. I mean, they can beat you in a multitude of ways. I mean, they can hit for average. They can hit the long ball. I mean, they move runners over. I just think they do a tremendous job of manufacturing runs. And San Diego can do the same thing. They have a deep lineup as well. You have a superstar. I mean, Fernando Tatis Jr. is so much of a superstar that you're almost forgetting about Manny Machado.
Yeah.
And Manny Machado is a superstar. I mean, so that's how great Fernando Tatis is. And he's a guy that's flamboyant. I mean, he's must-see television. Every time the Padres come on, the same way I do with the Phillies and Bryce Harper, but when the Padres are coming on, I'm watching if that guy is playing. Again, I was surprised he came back. He changed his swing up. Now he's not letting that arm go. So he looks like he's healthy, very healthy. And the Padres, I do agree, they're definitely going to rival the Dodgers from here on out. And again, I think Kershaw was pretty much trying to say, like you said about the point to their diviness, I think he was pretty much trying to say, like, okay, we won the World Series last year. We've won the division.
You trying to tell them to go win something?
That's what he's saying.
Well, how did they feel before last year when they were?
He didn't say it. I'm just reading.
They were a great team.
I'm just reading into Clay Shaw.
Right. Clay Shaw, there you go
Clay
again.
Shaw's comments.
There you go again. Boy,
I got that from you, actually.
Hey, Greg's on a roll, man.
I got that from you, actually. But I'm just reading into Clay Shaw's. I'm just reading into it, man. All these weird names, bro. But hey, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Hey, man,
Fernando Tatis.
You ain't gotta say the whole name. Just say Clay Shaw. I know you mean Clayton Kershaw.
Clay Shaw, yeah. Just put them both together. Hey, but Clayton Kershaw, man, I'm telling you right now. Tatis went yard twice off of him, yard work. Then against Trevor Bauer, yard work, 2 home runs. I mean, so the one thing the Padres have added this year, now they can match the Dodgers with the pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at Blake Snell, you look at Hugh Darvish.
That was a huge move. I mean,
those are huge moves.
I mean, Darvish too. Darvish is one of those guys. Well, he didn't have a very good series against the Astros. whenever in the postseason, whenever they went to the World Series, the Astros worked him over pretty good. But there's still he's still a very, very good pitcher, and if you get his mojo back, which clearly he's put that behind him, he puts them definitely in a good spot to compete against the Dodgers. And then Blake Snell, we all knew that was a huge move. You knew how good he was with Tampa Bay or Milwaukee. Why am I confusing those two teams right now? Snell was with Tampa Bay, correct?
Snell was with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Sometimes I don't know why I was getting them too confused.
It's all good, man.
But yeah, you knew whenever they made a move for Snell that
we've had a long day.
Yeah, that was huge. That was the in my opinion, that was like the Astros going out and getting Verlander. That was essentially what the Padres did there with Blake Snell. Huge
Absolutely.
move for them.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of Verlander, speaking of the Astros finally starting to look like themselves again after going on a pretty good skid and being ravaged by COVID-19.
Right.
Our COVID-19 protocols. How you liking? How did it feel for you to get a look at Altuve coming back into the leadoff role and having as much success as he did?
I'm gonna tell you right now, if Altuve can stay healthy, of course he's a former MVP, and I just thought it was great for the Astros to get Altuve back because he's a spark plug. He's a guy that you know that by the time his career ends, if he continues, he can probably be a Hall of Famer. He can definitely be a Hall of Famer. And he's a guy that can mash. He can hit for average. He can hit for power. And he's one of your best players. He's one of the best players in the game. So it bodes well to get him back on any roster when he's set to come back health-wise. So I like it for the Astros. Hopefully they can keep their full complement of players together for a long period of time, and they can just grow as a team, and Dusty can put his imprint on this squad and really see them. I mean, you have Alvarez back this year. So I'm really loving the Astros if they're healthy, and, of course, the pitching staff as a whole.
I think their lineup really has the potential here. If Altuve settles into that leadoff role and really does it well, like he showed he can do in the past, I think there's a potential for them to have a murderer's row when you got to deal with the likes of Brantley, Correa, Alvarez, and Bregman, and in who knows what order. You know, because, I mean, Dusty, he's got to figure out a way to get the most out of these guys, and where they're at in the order could end up being how he's able to get the most effectiveness out of them. I mean, we saw Carlos Correa go from batting somewhere around fifth or sixth when they put him up in leadoff. All of a sudden, he's hitting the ball over the railroad track.
Hey, you remember I texted you the other day?
Yeah.
I say Correa just hit a home run over the train tracks.
I mean, you get him. I don't know what it is, but you really get him where he's feeling himself, and he's a phenomenal player when his confidence goes up. Putting him in the leadoff, giving him that challenge, I think was a very shrewd move by Dusty Baker. I think it was smart, and it paid off because they were finally getting some production out of that spot that they hadn't gotten since they lost Jose Altuve. And now Jose's back. He's filling the position well. I'm just interested to see what Dusty does with the rest of the guys and how he positions them, because if he finds the right spot in the order for each one of these guys, we could be talking about Mash City between Alvarez, Bregman. Don't forget about Yuli Gurriel having. Don't forget about Gurriel having one of the best seasons he's had, after having a miserable offseason or postseason last year. Don't forget about how good of the season he's having now. Yep. When you've got Gurriel tucked in somewhere at 7th or 8th in the batting order, I mean, where does the pitcher on the other end get a break?
Where have a break?
Where does it come?
They have a deep lineup. The Stro, if they can stay healthy, as is with any team, and that's the same thing we're saying about the Yankees, and they're in last in their division right now, but these teams are so competitive. I mean, across MLB, I mean, there are some good teams in these divisions. I mean, the Orioles are better. I mean, you can pull up these divisions, and you can pull up so many teams. Most of these teams right now, other than the Dodgers and maybe a couple other teams. I mean, the A's had a tremendous winning streak. That's a team that the Astros are going to have to deal with in that division. But most of these teams are hovering around 500. I mean, 10-10, 10-11. 10-9. I mean, so it's a lot of competitiveness in MLB at this point, and I think that's going to continue for the remainder of the season. Obviously, as the year progresses, there's going to be some teams that move themselves ahead of the pack, and I think teams like, of course, the Dodgers are going to continue to do what they're doing. The Padres, who I do think is a viable rival for them moving forward. I mean, because again, they added to that pitching staff to go with that lineup. But then you have the Yankees, the Red Sox. The Red Sox are backballing again right now. You have Tampa, who's playing good every year now, even though they always have the lowest payroll in the league. They find a way to, there's a well-ran organization, and they find a way to stay consistent and continue their winning ways. I mean, you can go on to the Minnesota Twins. You look at Nelson Cruz, who's 40 years old. He's still swinging a bat as if he's 25 years old. You have a guy, Byron Buxton, who when he first came into the league, he was a highly sought-out baseball player, and I'm talking about like a transcendent type talent who pretty much, it took him a while to get rolling, and now he's playing at an MVP level. He was known as a defensive player who couldn't hit when he first came into the league, had tremendous promise, highly touted. Now he's mashing on the offensive side of the ball. The game is slowed down to him. He's seeing the ball better. He's taking better swings on the ball. He has a better approach at the plate, and that talent is starting to shine through. So, and you already know what he can do on the defense side of the ball. So you have Byron Buxton. So you have the Twins. I mean, and it's so many teams in MLB right now that's going to be up there fighting for a playoff spot. But again, if I had to pick right now, I say the Dodgers are still the team to beat. With the Padres nipping at their heels. I know you don't want to hear that about the Dodgers.
I mean,
that's just 100 right there.
If you had asked me, being honestly, I'd have to say right now that the Dodgers can go suck a fat toe. You know,
hey, so what do you think about them? Okay,
I'm just
that.
You know that
but
the
animosity
is there, but absolutely, they're still the favorites. Okay. It's theirs to really screw up. But we'll see. It's such a long season. It's funny. It's funny. Hey man, it's just teams act. But you know what? They came back and got there. So hey, more power to them. They're the champions.
Championship teams do.
Yeah, they came back and
they're
got
in
there.
Los Angeles.
But it just a lot of the crying and stuff about what happened to Astros. We're not going to get into that. You know.
And I agree with that. I mean,
we're not going to get.
I didn't like the way they did that last year either. The way they actually
Cody Bellinger and all the stuff he said.
Everything. We should have won. No, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
But
I didn't like the way they handled that either. But as far as their talent on the field, I mean, right now I don't really see a team beating them. I mean, now Clayton Kershaw. Now speaking of Kershaw, what is he going to give you? I mean, because I've seen games where he can look like the Clayton Kershaw of old, and I've seen games where he looks like old Clayton Kershaw. So I don't know which Clayton Kershaw. I'm willing to bet that because they can always bring David Price out of the bullpen. But again, Trevor Bauer was already crying about Tatis celebration or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the one eye because I guess Trevor Bauer.
That's one guy on that team I really can't stand right there.
Yeah, Bauer's another one.
I mean, he's a great talent, and they're talking about now. You see how they swept that under the rug about maybe it was a foreign substance that he was using. You hadn't heard anything else about that, have you?
Nope.
You hadn't heard anything else about that.
No.
And that's where Eddie gets his animosity and his resentment toward it because we've talked about it before.
You want to single the Astros out for cheating, but whenever there's
widespread,
widespread
cheating,
exactly.
And they mentioned that about the substance that it was going to go get tested and all this and that, and they haven't said anything else about that, and you probably won't hear anything else about it. You know why? Because that's the Los Angeles Dodgers, the world champs, based in Los Angeles, the second biggest media market in the world behind New York.
For different
and we
teams.
talked about that in nauseam.
With Boston and with New York as well. Even though I teased about his animosity
and resentment toward the Dodgers, I mean, I knew it was coming from the start. I knew it was coming from.
And you know what's crazy, Greg? What I keep thinking about is almost, 2020 was such a long-ass year. I mean, it was long. And there's the other video we have posted on Facebook right now was from about just over a year ago, where we were just now getting into the quarantine and all that. Yeah, absolutely. We're just getting into that, and little did we know how different things were going to be, how different the NBA season was going to be. We were right about the NFL season; they rolled right along just like they normally do.
They did.
Nobody was stopping that freight train. But the NBA,
without the fans, of course.
Absolutely. But the NBA and the Major League Baseball season were both very, very different. There were different rules, different playoff structures. Everything was different. And the seasons were shortened. So now it's like baseball, even though it's just, look at, what are we, 25 maybe games into the season, if even that, 23 games into the season.
Yeah,
and you're wondering, man, if they can only be healthy by the playoffs, or we're talking about what could happen whenever the playoffs are around. Do we know how far away the playoffs are? There's so much that can change. And I know that some of these baseball players, some of these guys in Major League Baseball, I know they're feeling what I'm feeling too. Like, damn, last year we were already, halfway through the season after about almost halfway through the season after 25 games. Now we've still got 140 games left.
Yes.
I know they're going to be feeling it. I know they're going to be feeling that drag. So don't count out any one of these teams. You talk about old Clayton Kershaw. Don't be surprised if some of these older guys start looking old all of a sudden because they hit that wall, because 2020 really threw a monkey wrench and everything. Oh, absolutely.
They're not used to playing that type of season. And so some of the older guys, at least they know how to prepare themselves and keep themselves rested, and they have the right diet regimen and things like that. So they're probably more prepared for it than a lot of these young guys, these young bucks that's coming into the league right now. But it's definitely going to be a long season, 162 games. So they're definitely going to have to pace themselves. They can't get too high, too low. It's going to be a lot of fluctuation in the season. Now, hopefully your team can stay consistent, but it's going to be a lot of jockeying for position. You're going to play these teams 3, 4, 5 different times that's in your division. And so it's going to be a long season.
Yep.
Hey, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
And so
that's where you get excited about the Astros being able to get back to
in the NL as far as MVP, right? This early.
Bryce Harper.
Yes, sir. But he always gets out to great starts, So we'll see how he continues with the Phillies, but he's playing tremendous baseball right now. And, a lot of people wonder why I like Bryce Harper, and, he hasn't lived up to the number one pick. The guy does have a number one. He does have an MVP to his credit. Haven't won a playoff series yet. Now, when he was with the Nats, actually, a couple of those playoff series, he actually shined in, but the team let him down. Then as soon as he leaves, they find a way to win the championship. But even a year after he won the MVP, he was on a trajectory to probably win it again the next season, and he hurt his knee going to first base when he slipped on that base. So last year, he was probably, for that shortened season, he had an MVP caliber shortened season. So when he's dialed in, when he's healthy, the guy, like we were saying last week about hitting the ball to where people are not. He has something they have now. They have a stat for everything now. You pick your nose, you're hitting 320 if you pick your nose before you come up to bat. It's a stat for every damn thing. But something called expected slugging percentage, meaning I think when he hits the ball, he's making good contact on the ball, but he's hitting it at people, and he's getting out. So he's making contact, tremendous contact with the baseball, and just hitting it in the wrong spot. It's just unlucky, so to speak. So he's leading the league in that. He's always somewhere leading the league in walks. He's batting over 300 right now. It's early. Has 6 home runs. Here's a guy that thinks the game. That's why I like him. And he has that flair for the dramatic. He thinks the game, and he's about getting on base and scoring runs, getting that OPS up. His OPS is over 1,000. So if he's healthy, he's going to be in the MVP discussion. Now, whether or not that would be enough to get the Phillies over the hump, I'm not so sure, because even though their pitching has gotten a little bit better, and their relief pitching was terrible last year, and it's a little bit better. I don't know if he's going to have the team around him. Now, they can score some runs, but I just don't think they're going to have the pitching to really be a viable contender. But again, there's a lot of teams. The Astros, I really want to see if Dusty can keep those guys going. The NBA playoffs again, they're coming up soon. There's only like 11 to 12 games left in this NBA. LeBron will get back, and he can gel with his team. And so finally see him work with a big man like Andre Drummond, work with his guy AD. KD is back with the Brooklyn Nets. Now you get James Harden back. Let him work with Kyrie and those guys. And let's see what happens. See if Embiid can stay healthy. See if him and Simmons, if they can give each other enough space in the playoffs to really cause some havoc. See what happens. See if Utah is legit in the playoffs. See what Phoenix can do in the playoffs. We can go on and on. We are going to go on, and we're going to be back next week, Eddie.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add, bro?
No, man. Except catch the NFL draft real quick before we go. If you have any questions about the NFL draft, you want to pick our brains or anything, hit the comment section anywhere. whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. I'll do my best to respond to every single one of them and give you my take on anything you want to know outside of the time that we're doing the show. And definitely when we are doing the show, y'all get in on the action. But go to YouTube, search the Sports Court with Greg Beatty and Eddie Cox. I guarantee you'll pull us up this time. We did a lot of work behind the scenes getting those videos uploaded and getting this streamed live to YouTube. So this is currently on there. Go find us, go subscribe, get us to 1,000. Once we get there, I'm going to reward you guys. We love each and every one of you.
Gregory
like we always
Beatty,
say,
Eddie Cox, legends live and let live.
Always. And y'all take it easy and have a good night.